Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this video is about cheap airline captains. Now, you may notice that little bit of light in the background. This is not a professional studio here. The sun is setting earlier in the window, and I've got it coming through there in backlight. But I digress. Okay, cheap airline captains. I'm sure you've all heard of cheap airline captains. Well, I'm going to tell you about this one in particular, a story that I think you might find fascinating. Now, you know, the three tenets of a good airline captain is you must be at least on your third wife. You must be able to take the aircraft from the co-pilot in the most humiliating fashion possible, which is usually when he's established at 500 feet, perfectly stabilized on final. That's one of the best spots to take it and just say, I've got it. Okay, that's another tenet. Not one that I espouse, but that's another tenet. And the third one is the ability to calculate a 1% tip. Yes. So if you've got and I actually had some people make up cards that had, calculating, so you could calculate a 1% tip, because they have these cards for higher tips, but this is the 1% tip. Okay. So if it's $100 meal, the tip is $1. Not that you would ever find a grand slam breakfast that expensive at Denny's, which is where most of the captains eat. But here's a story about one airline captain I think you might find slightly interesting and humorous. Okay, I was a co-pilot on the DC-10. This was a good number of years ago. Probably we're talking about 40 years ago. Okay, old story. You can see by the paint job. Anyway, back in the day, when you bid a schedule, you stayed with the entire crew the entire month. That's the cockpit crew. Now, we'd get a new set of flight attendants, quite often. Once in a while, you get a set of flight attendants that you'd keep for a 3-day trip, which was always a lot of fun because you got to know them. Of course, if you were flying with a difficult captain, that wasn't necessarily a good thing. But fortunately, the flight attendants didn't necessarily blame the rest of the crew. But let me tell you this one story about this one DC-10 captain. Now, it was very common for the crews to go out together and have a nice meal together. And typically on our DC-10, we'd have 3 pilots, captain, first officer, and flight engineer back when they had those, and we'd have 8 flight attendants. So we'd have a group of 11, and it was a nice little group. We'd go out to eat. And we had this captain who would always collect all the money for the bill. He says, you guys just throw in your share. And he would go, okay, this is really funny because you guys always put in too much. And when I collect the bill here, sometimes I don't even have to pay for my meal because you guys put in so much. And after he had done this about, with the second crew, it was getting to be a little irritating. So I got together with the crew, the flight attendants and the pilots too. I said, hey, here's the deal. This is what this guy likes to do. So what we're going to do is everybody put in a amount of money that's less than your bill, okay? And we're going to have fun with this. So we do that, and he's collecting the money, and he goes through the same old thing. Well, let me tell you a funny story here. You always want to be the one who collects the money because if you do, and he goes, wait a minute, you guys shorted me. So we all had a good laugh. Yep. We kind of enjoyed playing that little trick on the captain. So that is my little story about how we got back at a cheap captain who liked to play a little trick on trying to get his meals for free at the expense of the rest of the crew. Hey, hope you found it interesting and enjoyable. Thanks for watching.